You've got at least one. Go show your nipples to Greg. Greg appreciates a nice nipple. At least one. You really oughta go show your nipples to Greg. There's a bear. Try to take my show your nipples to Greg. Greg, you got it. Need a tripod, man. I'm gonna put my tools, my toolbox, on the hood of the whip. And you're not gonna fall. Alright, what am I doing? All the bugs are coming. I just want to take gloves, bring the wheelbarrow to the wood pile, throw all the wood onto the wheelbarrow, carry the wheelbarrow over there, and dump it. So that's what we're doing. Go show your nipples to Greg. Greg appreciates a nice nipple. And you've got at least one. What the fuck did you do with my butt? I think I left them at the job site. But I'm there in the morning anyway. I'm really gonna be. You telling me I gotta raw dog this wood pile? And that wood pile is a woman, by the way. Don't misgender that wood pile. If I get a splinter, I'm fucked all day tomorrow. So we're putting on the lobster hands for today. The part of the title of the video, man. Hey, I'd rather be me than you any day. Greg appreciates a nice nipple, and you've got at least one. Ah, it's a grasshopper. Ah! Yes. Used underwear. Perfect. Help me, I'm very poor. Can you spare some soup? Can you spare some soup, please? Please spare some soup. I pulled my back out. I need to stretch. Ow. Om. 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 Nope. That hurts. That hurts. Om. 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 Ah. Hold my back. Spare me some soup, please. I'm very poor, weak, and frail. Please. Oh my God. Go show your nipples. Greg. Greg. What the hell was that noise? Grasshopper just went. Oh! You had one job. Please. What was that noise? Thought you had me, huh? You didn't think I'd kick behind me, did you? You didn't think I'd kick the air behind me in a crane stance, did you? Noise in the forest? You think this is a game? I take this shit very serious. I'm not messing around here. Greg appreciates a night, and you've got at least one. I'm a praying mantis. That's how they sound. Help. Greg appreciates a nice nipple. You got at least one. Go show your nipples to Greg. You really ought to go show your nipples to Greg. Greg appreciates a nice nipple. You got at least one. You really ought to go show your nipples to Greg. Greg appreciates a nice nipple. You got at least one. You really ought to go show your nipples to Greg. Go show your... What are you looking at? I'm a god. Oh. I'm skiing. Whee! 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 What you want, bitch? What you want, bitch? What you want, bitch? I just want to clean up the trash. Greg appreciates a nice nickel. You got at least one. It already looks much better than it did. Just a little bit. I'm just picking up tiny stuff to make it look decent. Look, already one of them broke. Moving my sawhorse is one of the rocks that broke. Right, if I just whip it in the back seat, dump it all in the dumpster. I might start making progress. And then I gotta work on this shit. But look at all this lattice to build the garden out. To build the sitting section. I don't know what I'm gonna do with those boards, man. If they're really, really rotted, I'll just burn them. I don't intend to do this, but I think it's really funny that there might be, like, what percentage chance do you think that they see me as unstable and they're worried about kicking me out because they see this as a bomb? It's not a bomb, but like, if I were to get mad and just chuck a cigarette into this, bird right to left, whoosh, the entire mountainside is gone. You think they're worried that, like, if they were to kick me out? I guess not, because to be fair, that danger is here regardless of that wood pile. I don't know if you know this, but the earth is pretty flammable. But I was thinking about it today. I was like, I hope they're not worried that this is like an ultimatum. Like, don't kick me out because I'm making the entire thing flammable. Don't do me wrong. Don't fuck with me. That isn't my intention. Maybe if they inherit the property, the people that treat me really badly, if they wind up with control of this place and then their first thing is not to help me, it's to hurt me. As a Christian organization, if the first thing as a Christian organization they do once they have the power these old boomers are so hungry for is to just make my life worse for fun, I don't think I'd even need to do anything. I think God would strike it with lightning. Greg appreciates a nice nipple, and you got at least 10. But I'm not into dogs. It's not weed, it's just weeds. Well, I've made enough progress to look like I'm working, you know? Like, if they show up here at least, oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, I didn't have the tools. My brain was like, you could have built a storage shed first. But I was like, wait, those are the materials that I would have needed for a storage shed on the ground there. There was really nothing I could do because I wanted to do the right thing and I needed their help. I didn't have a framing nail gun, so I was spending a lot of money on screws. Tell me if my service is coming in clearly. I don't know what to do with these. Like, I wanted to put the pavers here. But now, you know what I want to do, man? It's been laggy the whole time. I just want to get rid of all this. At the end of this, I don't even think the camper should be here. I think that this should go, and then it should be replaced with a shed in the woods that has all the tools to mow this. So that, say there's another Casey situation happening, instead of the moldy camper scenario, people would come up here and then they could build themselves with the rotted wood. Hey, long-legged cobra, you sound familiar. I'm gonna put you in timeout for 10 minutes. So instead of the camper on the mountaintop, if we're saving somebody's life in the future, like this place saved my life. I literally tried to shoot myself and was hospitalized. Instead, with all my scrap wood that I got in my big wood pile over there. Oh, there's a snakey wakey. Wakey wakey, hands off snakey. This is a big one. You hear the rustling? There will be a storage thing. So, you know, wood rots, but you can bring up boards and put a little tent thing, a little platform, and then put your tent on it so that people could come stay here for small periods of time. Like for me, I would say it took from March. I got here like late March. I think late May, I was able to see outside of the PTSD. It took me a good 2 months. It took me a good 2 months to not think every single loud noise was an incoming, like somebody trying to kill me. At the end of it, I was a feral animal. It's a miracle I was able to have conversations with people. It took a lot of effort, and nobody really understood that I was literally, like, for 5 years, most of the only social interaction I had was people coming to hurt me. Occasionally people would try to buy sex from me. Like older women would try to pay me for sex. And I never did. I tried once and I couldn't get hard because I didn't find her attractive. But she offered me $50. So I tried and then I didn't go through with it. I was like, this shit is gross. And I feel, you know, I bet I could have done it if I hadn't been abused along the homeless journey. I think I became completely disassociated. But look, I have these rocks. Cobblestone pavers. But yeah, what was it? Sorry, I was on a tangent. Yeah, just people kept coming to hurt me all the time. And then they would. I was showing people yesterday. Nobody believes that these are key marks to make my car look bad so that I'm profiled. Why the fuck does it go down and out like this? Why? It's a key mark. Look. Ching ching. It's key marks. And if you still aren't believing me, they got one on the back here. So, like, yeah, it looks like it could have been caused by a collision. But it's not. It was just people that knew I was living in the car saying, fuck you. And there's nothing I did to them. I was just trying to survive. I was so happy I got a car, and then within 2 days, I wake up. So happy I have a car, within 2 days, I wake up and look what they did to it. The only thing it could have been was the plow truck. But if it was a plow, there would have been a lot more damage. Like I was living outside in the winter, but there's no way two people backed into me, man. The only thing it could have been is a plow. Like maybe the plow hit ice or something, but they were both in one night. Like I woke up in the morning. I think it was just some piece of trash, knew I was living in the car and thought I was a piece of trash. And contrary to popular belief, the only real garbage is this mattress. It's just I haven't had a chance to get rid of it yet. I'm gonna chuck it tomorrow. I'm waiting. Did my guy message me? No, he hasn't. I was supposed to pick up a homeless 23-year-old to go work with me. I'm paying him. So out of my 700 I have, I'm giving him, I think, 150. Because if I have to wake up at 6, I'm going to pick him up at 6:30. And then we're going to the job site and I'm going to teach him how to sand. Because I just learned how to sand. And then I'm going to run him through what my boss ran me through. So that we can, I think it's just 3 more days tops. And then it's done. He makes $400 a day. I make $200 a day if we work a 10-hour day. But he's saying he can't afford it because his Airbnb costs him $1,000 a week. So he's not making much money. But let's think about it. He's already making he's making 15 grand for just the deck. Without, she's paying for materials. He's making 15 grand to build a deck. He's already made 15 grand off just the, once the job is completed. 15 grand for it. She's paying for the lift. She's paying for the materials. The person paying us. The client. Everything that we're doing is extra. So he's charging $60 an hour for it because it's extra. It's not what he was paid to do. It's extra work. So he's making $60 an hour. So we work 10-hour days. He's making $600 a day. I've worked 4 days. He's made $2,400. I've made a third of that. I've made $7. I made $800. I made $800. Not $7. I made $800. I made $800. I spent $200 of that. I bought socks, I bought underwear, I bought shampoo, I bought a gym membership, I bought phone service. It cost me $12 to go to the gym because it's 40 miles away, but it's the only gym around. So I go down there, spend $12. So I've already spent about $80 on the gym because I have to shower every night. So I drive 30 miles through the mountains and back. So I drive 60 miles. Which is 3 gallons of gas on my car. So it's $12 here. So I spend, just to take a shower every day, I'm spending over $70 a week just to shower. So I should probably, it's too late now. I bought the gym membership. I already spent $50 on the gym membership. So I have to, at least 1 day a week. For it to be worth it, I have to go 5 times this month. Because every time you go, it's a day, to have spent it, a day pass is $10. So I spent $50. I at least have to go 5 times, and then in that month I can say it would be the same as if I did 5-day passes. It's really good money. It's because he knows my situation, and he really needed help. He's really just like all day he's freaking out, trying to like, he's pinching pennies. The owner's really wealthy, and she worked in Hollywood, and she's neurotic as fuck. She's kind of nuts, because she's old, and who knows what else. So if she comes out and says that there's anything wrong with our sanding process, he just tells her it's my fault. And I just play along with it because I know I need to, like, I was wondering why every time that they were having a conversation, it felt like they were both punching me in the face spiritually. That was my question yesterday. Remember, I was saying it feels like spiritually they're punching me in the face. Turns out that those conversations, every time that she had a problem with something, he said it was my fault. And at the end of the day, I don't care. Because if it was his fault, if she started to, her neurotic, crazy whatever, living alone in the most beautiful house I've ever seen in the most beautiful part of Vermont, if she was mad at him and not me, she might, it's better to have the employee than the boss. I'll take the slack. And she can go, wait, because he's not going to scapegoat me and then fire me. He's just going to scapegoat me and say, he's learning, he's new. Even though I do I mean, when he's working with his son is there 2 days now. The work goes really well. It goes really fast. He's in a good mood. Things are good. When his son is not there, he's very stressed. He's very kind of angry, but he's also, I think, a good dude. But then I think some of his past comes out. Like he said, he was an addict for a long time. So I think when money hits the equation and he gets stressed about money and his kid isn't there, he starts to get that same desperation that addicts have. I get it. But then having his son there made it a lot better. I'll just say that. And I also think he's a really cool guy. He invited me to go eat Chinese food with his family yesterday, and I said no because I didn't want to feel like shit and then show up to work feeling bad and then do a bad job. But yeah, he's panicking. He says he's not really sure how much longer he can pay me $20 an hour. But I just don't understand why. I guess he does, his wife does not work. He has 5 kids. He has 2 from a previous relationship, and his wife has 2 from a previous relationship, and they have 2 together. Plus, I don't know, he said 5 kids, but I know that's 6 kids. But that's what he said. He said he has 5 kids, but he said 6 total, so I don't know what's up with that. But he does have 5 to 6 kids. He's 33 years old. It was his birthday 2 days ago. He drives kind of a piece of crap truck, but it runs, and he's got a really cool speaker system. He's a mechanic. He said he bought it for $200, but his wife was driving a pretty decent car. He has a Cane Corso that cost $4,500, and then he has another dog. He said he doesn't own, he rents an apartment. So that's expensive. That's like $2,000 a month. But to be fair, all right, this month, he also has a full-time job. This month, he's going to be making well over $20,000. So I don't really know. Like, he was panicking about money right when he stiffed me $20. He did stiff me $20 on the first day. Whether it was because he was stressed and not doing the math right, or, maybe he changed his tone later, but at first he offered to buy lunch and then he took the lunch back at the end of the day. So he did stiff, I wouldn't have eaten if he didn't tell me he was buying, because I can't afford it. But as he did that and I agreed to it, as soon as I was like, fine, he can stiff me, a dollar bill flew out of his wallet, and then I chased it down, and he was laughing the whole time as I was panicking, running for that dollar bill across a big field. So he was like, you can have it, bro. I don't need it. Today he walked up and said, hey, what do you want for lunch? But you have to pay for it. And I said, hey man, I just won't eat. I brought some protein bars. So I saw that he was visibly saddened. So that makes me feel better. He was actually like pretty upset about that I wouldn't be eating with them. So he bought me lunch anyway, out of his own pocket. So there we go. But he does owe me $60 because he sends me to the store to buy things, and then he says he doesn't have enough, and he has to wait for her to cut checks. So it's in my notes that he owes me $60 for buying Diablo pads. And then tomorrow I'm probably gonna sleep in. I don't want to sleep in, but I got to see what time the hardware store opens, because I have to go get a pack, I have to go get a pack of 80 grip, because they ran out of 60 grip. I have to get 80 grip pads for the sander. And if my guy doesn't answer me, I can text Connor. Connor, isn't it cool that the two people I'm trying to work with right now are named after my dead children? The only one I'm missing is Avery. I had when I was 16, I had a girlfriend that supposedly miscarried, and that was Avery. And then there was a kid I didn't know about, and that was going to be named Connor. And then I wanted Donnie. So the two people at the gas station that I offered this job to, that I've been chill with, that hanging out with, and they give me the expired food, is Connor and Donnie. I wanted a kid named Dominic, but I would call him Donnie. Dom O'Brien. Connor O'Brien. Connor Francis, Avery Francis, and Dom Francis, or Dominic Francis. I don't want a kid named Dominic now, but I did 3 years ago. Now I'd rather have like a Ryan O'Brien. No, I wouldn't. I don't know what I'd want to name. I wanted a daughter named Acacia, and I'd call her Casey. I wanted Avery, Acacia, Connor, and Dominic. And then I wanted 3 other kids. I wanted 7 kids, and then I wanted to always have 11 kids in the house. But after the 7, it would be fosters and respite. And I wanted Acacia to be black. I wanted a daughter. A light-skinned daughter. I wanted an Irish daughter, a Hawaiian daughter, a black, a light-skinned daughter, and I wanted a Hawaiian son, a light-skinned daughter, and then an Irish boy named Connor. And I was assuming that I would be a millionaire and have a huge property, and then if the baby mothers wanted to stay with me, they could. If not, they can go off on their own thing. I mainly wanted the kids more than I wanted a partner around, because I like this, and I just haven't found somebody I'd want to share it with. A mosquito flew into my mouth. I'm going to bed. I drank an ant today, and it was writhing in my stomach. Go show your nipples to Greg. You really... I don't think we have a Menards here. Greg appreciates a nice nipple. You've got at least one. We have to find my drink first. I left a note that says, got work, have planned, thank you. $500 in this car officially. Or I could do something. I could at least insure it, and the owner would be cool if I give her like $400. If I give her $400 and pay for insurance, and be like, get the rest to you as we go. Here's a money. That was a deer. Did you see it? A bait. I think that was a fawn. I saw it jump into the woods. They're very quiet when they're scared. I don't know how such a big creature can jump so gracefully and then land without any noise. And then when they get older, they get retarded for some reason and they just stumble around going. You'd think natural selection. Maybe that was just a purebred baby that their ancestors survived many generations of hunters. But yeah, my life is riddled with miscarriages or abortions. I'm not totally sure. And with Chloe's kid, I don't know if it was mine or the guy she cheated on me with. I'll never get the truth from that disgusting whore. I had brain damage, and I was a vegetable. So I was 19 and she was 18. So she called me after the car accident and said, I was talking to Jaden, who was the guy that she was seeing, and she said, I was laying in the bathtub calling him on FaceTime, and I told him how it feels to not have you in my life, and he understood. So do you want to come over? And I was going to go to the gym and then try to get my ex back, but I said sure. And then I just stayed with her for a week, and then I liked her. I really liked her my whole life, like since I was 15. I really liked her. Maybe I was 16. I was starting my junior year when I met her. I really liked her. But I liked her for reason. Other people liked her because she was hot, or she was she was just fun to be around sometimes. And she definitely was different. But I liked her because I could tell we had very similar trauma. Like, the world was in chaos around us, and we had this sense of like being on Earth. And I know that comes from going through horrible shit. I just felt like we matched, like we were playing the same song. So we were really good together, but she couldn't stop. She was so attractive. She had tons of attention from everybody all the time. Guys would line up the aisle in Price Chopper all the way to the aisle from where she worked as a cashier. People ranging from 12 to 80, just all the way, each of them getting a turn, trying to get with her. And she couldn't give that up. And maybe it was female nature, maybe it's not, that they're always looking for the best option. But it was like every time I saw her in public, she was with a guy, and they were living in like a love story. And I'll never. She said she wasn't sleeping with anybody, but years have gone by, and then she said, "Well, we used to make out after work," and I'm like, I just don't know why she lied. I think she liked she liked not telling me the whole story and just giving it in bits. She likes that. That's a that's a very sick person. There's a part of her that really enjoys that it hurts me to not know all the things that she was lying about. I think she liked coming home and lying to me. It wasn't, it was part of it for her. Part of, like, it's not just cheating. It's not just doing me wrong. It's the fact that she liked the secret. I couldn't imagine getting enjoyment from being, like, I've slept with girls that called their dad while, like, their dad called and she answered while we were having sex. I've had two girls do that, where her dad calls or her brother calls and she just answers the phone and she likes having a conversation with them because it's bad. Oh, it's bad. She likes that. So I guarantee you she would, maybe it's karma. Like, I've hooked up with girls while the guy that likes her is on the phone and she's just kind of trying to get him to stop talking, but she also, I don't know, they're weird. Maybe it's karma. Maybe I've had a phone call with the girl that I loved and she was getting fucked. But to not be the best option for the girl, like to not be considered the best option, God had to destroy my entire ability to function and leave me in analysis, paralysis, and psychosis with severe trauma to get me to not be considered the best option was to completely destroy me. And maybe that happened because I chose the wrong person. Like, maybe we would have been so good together that I would have never gone into the woods and learned that I'm Native American. Maybe I would have never wound up on a mountaintop. Maybe I would have just gotten a monotonous deli job and made shitty music and would have stayed in that suburban delusion watching Stranger Things, eating burritos, getting fat with a girl that God didn't want for me. Maybe he had to do that to me to push her away. You know what I'm saying? Do you think Rich is going to invest in AI no matter backlashes till they reach AGI, which eventually powers AI robots to place middle and low caste with those people alive just for experiment? I mean, I work 10-hour days now sanding a house with a power sander, and we have a lift. The client paid for the lift. It's not hard to program a machine and hook it up to that lift, have it sand for us. If we already have the lift, we're already buying the lift. It would just be, it would probably equate to the same amount of money that I get paid to do it. To So you don't have to stand side of the house to put a new layers of paint on it. Well, the Catholics saying that angels and demons are essentially AI agents. The Catholics are saying what they learned from thousands of years of exorcisms and communicating directly with demons is that demons and angels were all created, all the angels, which is if every person that's ever existed also had a guardian angel supposedly. So if you go back to how many people existed in all of history from the dawn of humanity, every single one of those has an individual angel because knows God is separate from time, and when God created time, he knows everything that's going to happen from the start to finish when time is gone. In this finite thing we call time, from start to finish, God knows everything that's going to happen and free will is true here, but it's not true outside of time because you can see already what's going to happen. But to us in the present moment, we do have free will. We make different decisions. uh, you know, as much as I'm learning more about Christianity, it's the more it does line up with my unique experience alone without it. The things that I've seen and experienced do line up with thousands of years of Christian science, I guess. People trying to figure out what's going on. Uh, so they said that all the angels were created at once, and then right after they were all created, they were shown God, and then instantly a third of the angels decided that they did not want to do what they were made to do, so then they just were kicked out. Sometimes I think Adam and Eve were cells in a petri dish of some kind, because if you look at all life eats each other. Cells go to war against other cells. Cells will group together to attack a cancer. Single celled organisms eat each other and grow. So I think that the original sin, the first sin, would have been when the cells decided to consume each other as a single celled organism. Like, when life decided not to just ultimately work together and decided to start consuming each other to grow and harvest the resources of the other cells at that microscopic level. That to me seems more like the Garden of Eden thing. Or what they're saying is that, well, they definitely, one of the big things the hangups that I had was that they don't feel connected to nature. That Christians don't, they can't feel the crows. Like I just looked for a crow in my mind, and then a crow went ah! Out there. Like I held the frequency that I've done over years of doing this. I hit the crow frequency just to see, and one of them went ah! Because I just know it's a subconscious tool now. Um, but Christians don't have that. Natives have that. Druids have that. Pagans have that. Everyone but the people from the middle, like from Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Those are the only Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, which is all kind of pseudo Saturn worship. Those those are the cultures that don't acknowledge that life can communicate with each other in spirit and that we're all connected and we're all one. But the deeper you go into a degree in Catholicism, when you actually learn more and more about it, they do say that everything is connected. And what happened to humanity changed how all animals operate. So when the original sin happened, they said all the animals began um, the competitive fighting for resources type. But before that, sin wasn't introduced. So the ecosystem was different. It was more based on like the plants grow from the ground. They don't fight each other. They don't grow over each other. They grow exactly what they need, and they all work together. But then they said that at some point, sin was introduced, such as you're coding a video game, and then the code gets added, and then as a result, everything changes. That makes sense to me. That it wasn't the original plan. I also want to make it clear that when you start thinking outside of time, you can get into um, the fourth dimension, and that's like where aliens live. They don't need time, so their experience is like in your dreams when you suddenly you're in a new scene, or like you walk through a room and then the whole thing's completely different, and it all happens at once and you remember it. Like it's barely linear. The sequence of events does feel linear with the meaning of the events, but the environment isn't really there. It's just always kind of changing, or it doesn't feel real, and it almost feels like you're in a place that doesn't make sense. Um, and then the scene changes. Like it jumps scenes like a TV show. In your dreams, it jumps. That's where they're like, where we're not really. I'm sitting here, and then I just have to think about, um, I want to go to the beach in 1942, and then I'm just there. And then I'm thinking I want to go to the Berlin Wall, and then I'm there. Now I want to go to the Great Wall of China, and you can imagine it. Like you can imagine the Great Wall of China. When you imagine that, that's what it is. That's the fourth. That's the fourth dimension. Like imagine your room back when you were 8 years old, or like when you were in first grade. I lived on Frost Street in Brattleboro. I can remember being there. I can remember making myself try like for hours, just going, forcing myself to puke a tiny little bit of puke, so I could show my mom and my dad, so that I didn't have to go to school. The way I just jumped like that is how angels and demons and aliens and all that operate. That's actually what's normal. The way that you can literally jump into your memory from the past, it's not the past. You're just not in the present there, but you are there. Like when I remember back to those memories and I'm looking back through my own stuff, it's like Interstellar. I remember vividly when during that moment, and I always feel like I'm surrounded by things. When I look back through my memories, I'm one of those things that I observed when I was a child, and I knew that something was there. But there were other stuff there. There was definitely more than just this one presence, but now I'm able to identify this presence is me remembering. So that's part of Revelations in the age of Aquarius and all this prophesied stuff, is that we're beginning to understand that this physical is just a dream. It's just got a little bit more rules to it that make it more physical, make it seem more linear, make it seem slower paced, make there be like heavier consequences. Ultimately it is just the guiding of will, and all that will is in a separate realm of existence. So demons and stuff are the will of those things coming into our mind. And this is part of our mind. Because you can remember what the walls looked like. When you're like if you remember back or you imagine a room, you're not worried about the cellular makeup of the walls. Like if you picture a forest grotto and birds flying and all that, that's right there. You can imagine that right there. And it's there. You're not worried about you don't have to imagine the cellular makeup of the bird and how much, caterpillar in its gut writhing, how much shit and piss is in the bird, what the bird wants. You can just imagine it flying, and it flies. That's part of the creation. Is that system is not, where something else is managing all that. But you can imagine it, and it's pretty much no different than real life. This is that. What you're experiencing, watching me, is part of a creation. And imagine we're made in God's image, God's imagination. So the same way that you can think about going to, like, imagine yourself floating above the Great Wall of China. What they're saying is that there are other conscious entities that are imagining themselves in your room. and we've just been made unaware of that so that we think it's our own thoughts, but it's not. So when you get to that level, I just wait for changes. Like I hold a grounded sense of calm and rationality, and then in my imagination, I start daydreaming and moving things around in it so I know what me is, and then I pay attention to what isn't me. So like if I feel the pressure on my back and then I see an entity that I can't describe, here it's like it's very tall, elongated head, lean down and just like make its presence known to me while I'm imagining like a dog dancing, which is what I was doing, was just kind of like folding energies over itself and trying to make a dog dancing, and then I saw an entity and it's right there. That I know I didn't imagine that. I was focused on this. So that's evidence that there's something to it, especially because it takes the shape stuff that and like the way it looks, but it looked like a mind flayer type from Stranger Things, but with white instead of black smoke. It was white light, and the those things are so complexly, to just I couldn't make that in my mind. Like I saw the gray when I woke up one night and I was just snapped awake, and then I saw in my imagination a gray alien float in the darkness beside my spirit and look into my imagination and start go show your nipples to Greg. I don't know why it didn't say it's reconnecting. It just, am I cutting out or not? What's going on with my phone? Am I even here? I was talking about gray aliens and then my phone just fucking whacked out. I was explaining all the instances where I met gray aliens and then my phone just is fucking going nuts. I don't even know if you can hear me. It tried to force an update, and then when I it died, it went from like 50% to 0% battery, and now it just keeps saying like my it's just flashing on my screen. But it didn't do that until I started going in depth about when I met gray alien. I taught I was teaching people how like to meet them. So maybe that's too much, or maybe they're here. I drove a truck for the first time yesterday. I drove the boss's truck. I've never driven a truck before. Dog with to me to drive down the road to go pick up supplies for a job site with a dog in the back in a truck. I like that. That's a good life. I don't, however, like it froze on me saying it telepathically sending information to me, and it repeated me frozen saying that it went in a loop, telepathically sending information to me, telepathically sending information to me, telepathically sending information to me. It was but while it was telling me those things, then they got scared and they left. Like they disappeared and like floated away. And then I saw a massive red dragon's head looking up at me, or like a T-Rex head, and it was angry. And because I've seen YouTube shorts and stuff, I know that those they call those the draconians, but the Christians call them demons. It is starting to align with like Christian beliefs that the Greys might be demons, and the dragon might be the devil. Exorcists have been saying is that those things are us on the world I'm seeing. Because I asked if they were aliens, and then whoosh, right. I could try to animate it, but I don't think I'd come close to how it felt and looked. It looked like inspiration itself. It looked like kindness and inspiration. I've inhaled so much sawdust. When I'm sweating, it feels like I'm sweating sawdust. Like I think because the sawdust packs into my vape, and then I just hit it, and then I feel really weird and bad. And then when I start sweating out whatever chemicals in the sawdust, I gotta go to bed soon. If I want 8 hours of sleep, I gotta just pass out because I gotta wake up at 6. I don't really have to wake up at 6 a.m., but I want to get ahead of the sanding while it's cold. I, with the sun beating down on me. I feel bad for the client, but to be fair, like she's rich. She could always go on a hike. I don't think she owns headphones, and I don't think she knows what to do because she can't watch TV or anything. So I mainly just see her. She just kind of wanders around the property all day. I don't think she doesn't have to work anymore. I think she's bored. She had a friend come over, like a guy came over to visit her, and she walked around and showed him her hobbies, like her little garden she's working on that's covered in weeds and really bad, like it's really overgrown, and the plants aren't doing great. So I offered to weed for her for free just to help out, like on a day off, and she got really paranoid and then told my boss not to tell me not to go up and talk to her, and only if she comes to hang out with us and comes to talk to us to talk to her. She thought it was weird that I was sanding. My boss walks up to me and tells me to sand it a proper way. He shows me his board that was done wrong. He shows me his board. So I point over. I'm like, "Is this one good?" To a board that I did, and he was like, "Yeah, that's great." Like, okay, she on to me. So what I'm assuming is that when you're sanding, there's these pads that have the roughness on it so that it can sand, right? When you're getting in a board that's curved like this, like a log, so it's like, it's got a curve on it, and you want to get in between the boards. So you want to get this top part in between. you have to use the outer edge of the paper, and you have to hold it sideways and press just, gently, like you can go. And once that wears out quick, but then you have the rest of the pad, and the rest of the pad doesn't wear out nearly as quick as the edge there. So I run the edge of the pad until it's no longer doing it right, and it doesn't look great if I keep going. And then I can do a lot more with the rest of the pad, and I don't want to waste the pad. So I end up extending into boards, and I don't hit the top of the board. And then when I get a new pad, I go over that top of the board. Was actually not do the top of the board, and she told him he's not doing the top of the board. And then he came over and kind of set me straight about it, and I was confused. So then later I was like, oh, what she was talking about was that she saw me not hit the top of the board. So I should just explain to her that the edge of the pad. So I went up and said that to her. And then afterwards, the boss came back and said, don't talk to her unless she talks to you, man. But I was like, anytime anything goes wrong, you say it's my fault, bro. But I thought about it. I was mad for a little bit. I was like, I was mad at her. I was like, what a coward. Just tell me directly. I didn't think it was a bad thing at all. And I offered to help her with her garden too. I said, I don't mind coming on a day off to help you. And she thought I was trying to sell my services. She thought I was trying to pitch getting paid to work on her gardens. She's like, no, it's my hobby. But in my mind, I was like, that's a lot. Like, that's all those weeds I pulled at, like, my last job I worked at before this one. I was pulling all the same weeds that are there, and it's a lot. They're really overgrown. It's hard to get out. So I was just going to offer to do that for her one day because I live 10 minutes away. But she thought I was trying to get paid for it, and I was pitching a business to her. And I'm glad I never run into. It's like when I'm introduced to these types of humans, it's always under like certain circumstances. I never just casually run into them. It's like a whole event where I like delve into another realm of the human condition and I meet certain types of people. And I'm always led to those places by Leos that are a 4 day, so it adds up to four, and they have four letters in their name. Like Jack, Phil, Owen, Rick, my dad, Gary, and now it's Ryan, and there was Eric if I didn't say it. So Ryan, Eric, Phil, Owen, Jack, and then in 2020 there was John who took me to live. I worked Jamaicans on a farm, and me and John were the only white people there. And then I got drunk, and when they took me home, when John took me home, I cried because I thought I failed God. Because I was like, this place is so cool, and these people are so cool, and they're from a different culture. I thought that I thought that God wanted me to be there, and that I failed them because I drank, and I didn't like make any friends. I guess they were just like, "Are you cool?" And we hung out for like a little bit. They showed me the food that they cook, and they were making a lot of money making COVID masks, and they all lived in a barn together. And then they had built a whole floor at the top of the barn and put a bunch of rooms in the top. So I threw up in the driveway when we left. And then John ran around and he was almost crying because he just felt bad for me. And he was like, I don't know how to help you, whatever. He was like kneeling by the the door trying to console me as I was throwing up and crying because I thought I failed God. And I don't know, whatever I said, he texted me the next day. I was like, you didn't fail at all. I messaged them and they want to hang out with you again. And I was like, oh no, what the fuck happened to me last night? what Catholics say about or Christians say about that, like you get the more, the bigger your mission, the more powerful the angel you're assigned. When I do have, like, when I would just send it on Greyhound buses to like really dangerous places, I really felt like all the energy got heightened, as if it had been shifted to a higher level of guidance. And then one night I was at an Airbnb in Columbus, Ohio, and then the whole room started shaking, like vibrating, and then a huge light came in, and it was just the really bright light that was like all the. I was always fasting back then. I was taking care of myself, like did a parasite cleanse. I was always outside, sitting in the sun, tons of supplements, multivitamins. My skin was glowing. It was really crazy. Like my skin started to like shimmer, like when you shine it in the light. Probably all the minerals and stuff that I was eating, there was like specks of reflective on it. So I didn't need to be purged of any bad energy, but whatever it was doing was like it felt like I was being like upgraded. And then I saw a bunch of angels, but they didn't look like, they just looked like silhouettes made of light. And they just calmly told me that nobody does what I do, and that nobody just sends it across the country on this big mission for people, for selfless purpose, no selfish reason. You're going purely just to help people, and you're putting your life in danger. You're going into dangerous places, and you're also, everyone that you meet, you're trying to leave better than they were when you met. You like really appreciate the present moment and who the people are. You're completely like selflessly doing this, and you're brave. And it's just telling me that. And then my grandma, my dead grandma, I saw her saying that she's proud of me, and just like there was like a standing ovation from like a coliseum of angels. And then I fell asleep. I woke up. The Airbnb host didn't charge me anything that night because his friend brought me there, but I still gave him $10. And then the note that he left me, I folded up into an origami rose, and I left it on the $10 with a note that says "Thank you very much." And then as I'm on the Greyhound bus like the next day, and I'm leaving to go to Phoenix, Arizona, he texts me and said, "Hey, I just wanted to say." He texted me and said, "Hey, I just wanted to say that you helped me trust people again. I." He said something like, "I trust people again because of you. Thank you." And I didn't answer because I think the moment was kind of over. When you were here the first night you stayed with us, your skin looked like it was shining like glitter. That's what I'm saying. I was this version of me is post wilderness journey. Like it's been 5 years of nonstop abuse and just fighting through it, just terrible shit constantly, never ending. But Demon Hunter could tell you, when I got there, when Demon Hunter met me, it was post Miami, so I was better before Miami. I after Miami, I met Demon Hunter like 2 months later. But before Miami, it was like literally walking, like intense, because I had been locked at 8. At me crawling up through, like, I was just so connected to everything. I would lay in bed in sleep paralysis, and I could see everybody moving in their apartments. I could see all the information being pumped into them, and their decisions with what the information is. I could see like we were all part of this connected thing. When I would, master it and start to actually up and fight and do push-ups and walk and stuff, then people would start attacking me. Cops would show up all the time. My girlfriend would spam the thing, and then she'd come up, and I could see that she was just this pit of like dark energy and just disgustingness, and she would like do so just crazy Truman Show weirdness. And like if you could experience how she acted, it was really weird. And it would be every time I was close to waking, like fully realizing my, operating without limiting belief. I don't think West Virginia was good for me at all, other than bouncing on the trampoline. I think that Frank really messed me up. I think that I should have never been friends with Nate from back home. I saw him sitting. His girlfriend had just left him for one of my other friends, and I figured he was sad. We kind of like we sat together in another class, but we weren't like friends. It was a very weird, it was like it's one of those things where like you feel like you've known each other a lot longer than like there was something more than like the person that would sit like two seats over, or like I would always end up in classes and the people that would sit next to me and we never spoke, but they became like very significant characters in my life. The people that didn't sit around, like that we didn't naturally gravitate to the same area when there would be a huge classroom, and we would just like without thinking kind of impulsively just sit down. The people that would sit around me became like very significant characters in my life. And the people that didn't sit around me that would kind of sit over there, I never see them again. They're like extras. But even if I never spoke to them, like and we became friends years later, I can remember specifically that we used to all those people we used to sit next to each other. So I think that there was something more to that. Like I said, my ex, her friend liked me, so she brought her to my aisle because the friend wanted me. And then I got off work and I went with both of them to her friend's house. And then I said no to her friend because I wanted her. And then her friend cried sitting on the stairs in the basement. We were on the couch in the basement and she sat on the stairs just watching us. And then the next time I saw that friend of hers was 4 years later after I had the car accident and I was just like completely not functioning, like, you know, communicate speaking wasn't great. I was much different after the car accident, and my she was now my girlfriend, and she took me to the dog park, and the other girl, her old friend was there, so I like was just petting the dogs because I was literally like a retard. I was just like really happy to pet the dogs, and then I looked up and saw, oh, it's Max, and Max was very kind, and my now ex, who was my girlfriend, was really kind of butthurt, bitter, whatever, just chaotic drama. Not didn't want part of that situation, and I was just happy petting the dog. That girl used to, my who was my girlfriend. She would she would drive me around all the time, and I couldn't speak very well, so we would just play a lot of music, and I would try to talk, and she would listen, and I'd ask her questions like, what is this like for you, or you know, we just talk, and then she'd bring me to another guy's house, and then she'd leave me in the car, and then she'd come back an hour later. And I watched her like do her hair up and or do her hair nice and look in the mirror and dress really nice for that, and she never did that for me. But she would tell me how much she wants kids with me and how good of a person I am and how special and rare I am. And then she would take me to her job and she'd come back and her hair is messier. And I was like, what happened? She's like, oh, birthday. You know how much that sucks? Because you know you're good enough. If you could only function like you used to, something happened to you that's not your fault. That's you can't you can't get into the pocket again so that you can make the jokes and lead and go on adventures and philosophize and have fun. You can't when you try to do it, it just doesn't work anymore. You just can't do it. And then everyone that liked you for who you were, you're not you anymore. So, but you are if you could only do it. And then every time I finally was starting to do it again, it would be I'd get jumped or I'd get abused or false police reports that lead to police brutalities and excessive force, or I'd get jumped eventually. So I had to just go through that for years. Then eventually, I once I started winning the fights, I never got attacked again, other than cops. After I picked up that guy and threw him on the ground, and then got him, just kept hacking him with the hatchet, and then I started laughing, and then I chased him out, and then I slammed on his window. After that, no one other than cops have ever tried me. The only people that come for me now are cops. Unless they think they can hide behind cops. Like the old ladies in Long Lake at St. Henry's. From the old ladies just freaking the fuck out because while I wait and fix my headlight from 2022 because I got to and I went back to Burlington and forgot. So now they want like $300. But I had gotten it like if they had let me stay in Long Lake and just stay in that church lot, or like open I could have, if I had made it to Sunday I could have gone to church there, but they wouldn't let me. 30 people. Do you remember how many people were in that parking lot in Long Lake? Do you remember that when I went to the gas station, I bought a drink and I was coming back and I had already cleaned all of the trash on the trail for everybody. I went and met the people in the clerk's office at the town administration and told them, hey, gym membership, it's 24-hour parking here. I don't do drugs or commit crimes. I just got a car after backpacking and I didn't know my license was suspended because of a headlight ticket from 4 years ago. So I'm kind of stuck here now because I can't drive it anywhere. Um, so it's looking like the next time I can talk to the station and they're gonna hire me, and then maybe if we work out something, we look at there. And nobody would talk to me. Everybody was trying to get the cops to tow my car away and arrest me, and the cops said no, my YouTube channel, and they've been watching, bro. I forgot all about it, man. Oh fuck, those cops saw me commit suicide. I think they called me after I got out of the hospital because you guys were calling them, and I said, yeah, I'm good. I wanted to take a break from everything, so I had deleted everything but Discord, YouTube, YouTube, and I was strictly watching 1, 2, 3 movies, and I would lay in. I was laying by then. When I got back, the car had been towed, so I had to text Kendra, is what she calls her. Is that Kendra is one of the names, and nobody knew that the owner's name was George. Yet we George. That's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I did let them know. Gone back to read it. I don't know where in the timeline. I know they did a lot. I didn't. I wish there were some of video. There were some videos that they had unprivated that I kind of wish stayed private, like some of my older stuff. But it is what it is. Somewhere along that, they call the people my number to make sure I was alive. So I did tell the cops I was alive. So I had assumed. Morning, because they were gonna send me to the retreat, and I begged them because I didn't want to lose my car. The worst case scenario, I will drive myself to the retreat, and I'll leave the car at my parents' house. Like one of their or tried to steal it. Kendra did tell me that the only person that reached out was my dad, and my dad just wanted my car, is what I was told. I was told that my dad reached out to her and wanted my car. He didn't really care where I was. He just wanted the car. My family was just like the last time I went to see them. They tried to tow my car. They live in Section 8 and they don't have cars. So every time I get a car, it seems like they're really interested in it. I'm pretty sure the entirety of lying to the cops to have me arrested in 2023, at the end of the body cam video, you can see my aunt trying to get my car taken from me. It's all about the car. These obese narcissists in Section 8. It was all about the car. If I didn't have a car, I don't think that they would have done any of that. I think they wanted my car. Yeah, thanks. The first video they posted of you in your apartment when we all thought it was heartbreaking. I haven't watched it. That could be a lot of things. I think I see the thumbnail. Was it the one when I had? Was it the one when I had really short hair? It was it the 3 hour one? Or was it the one where I'm playing piano and making the beats? Was it, or there's one that I was with John Michael, and he's trying to talk to me, functioning well, and I'm really trying to make a beat, and he's trying to talk to me, and I just, I'm just not there. There was a 3 hour one. The 3 hour one, I think I was practicing talking to people, and I had brain damage, but it wasn't exactly brain damage. I didn't say one word. Okay, it's a different video. There's I used to record myself um talking because at that point I hadn't spoken to anybody in months, and my girlfriend was no longer. I guess she just stopped. She just stopped showing up. I think she was just. Who knows where she was? But she didn't show up for 3 months. She just completely disappeared, and I eventually I would have a huge breakthrough in spirit, and then people would show up immediately. Like my dad would freak out outside and tell the cops I was going to kill myself, and then they broke into my apartment. That was during a breakthrough. Another breakthrough was when my friend showed up and took me out into the woods, and then they ran away to have sex in the woods. And then aliens were like, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, a bunch of green lights in the trees, and then they said, "What are you going to do?" So then I went out to go investigate, and then immediately a person walked out and started patrolling on the other side where my friends were this way, they were over there, like this random trailer. And every time I tried to get out, another random person would walk out of the woods and then would go back into the garage. Um, but they were walking like robots, like this. And then the things were like, "What are you gonna? Are you gonna be crazy, Casey? Are you gonna? What are you gonna tell them?" And then eventually, and then I got up and sprinted to the lamppost on this kind of really far out place in Vernon, Vermont, and did 150 push-ups. And then I walked back. Like at least I did something. And then as soon as I got in the car, in just their boxers, my friend and his girlfriend emerged from the forest, and then they just grab a bunch of Danimals and go, "Drink the sugar, Casey! Drink the sugar! Drink the sugar!" Because they knew I had been fasting for a while, and they thought it was really funny to do. And then I think 2 years later, they called me and was like, "You know what? You were right, and I'm really sorry. You were right about everything." But the one word in the 3 hour video, I haven't seen it. I on my computer I have 30 hours of footage from 2021 where I'm relearning how to talk to people and I'm really struggling. So I 3 hours is the limit before the video stops. Dimebag Daryl, I don't know what that means. But yeah, I have some videos like that. And then I had I think I just got up every day and kept going. So eventually, I think the whole winter I didn't have heat and I couldn't afford cat food. So I would go out in the middle of the night at like, my eventually my mom would drop off bags of cat food for Mark and some food for me. But sometimes it was like my cat and I were eating beans, where I would cook up I didn't have heat, but I had electricity, so I would cook up beans on the stove, and then, the disappointment on my cat's face, and then have to speak. You know what I'm saying? And I could see that he was sad, and he understood that, you know, Kate, this is all Casey has. This is all we have today. So then he would just like kind of, I mostly what I found running around town at 3 a.m. was a can of tuna. The cat would get the tuna. But I think Sometime for like I think a week straight, all I had was cereal. So my cat ate cereal. So it was like a threshold. Eventually I got kind of. It was a lot of just like waking up and nothing. Like I just can't function. I can't move. I can't do anything. And I'm just being flooded with information and emotions of other people, and I could feel everything that was going on. And I lived in a Section 8 apartment, so I would feel the pain and the mental illness. I would like, the information. I would almost become them all the time, where I couldn't really find myself because it was like monsters growing through constantly, and they would try to get it. My cat would freak out and help me get rid of the spiritual warfare. But eventually I got through it. There was a lot of like laying in the corner of the kitchen, curled up in like the fetal position and just going, I don't want to end up like my parents. Please don't let me end up like my parents, please. And now I can't get beat it. And I was ready to go. I was buff. I was happy. I was making music that I was really happy with. I sat in the studio for months and I made songs I'm really, really happy with, like Storm and Float and Phantom and Shot for Shot, and you know and I was ready to just I had the car, everything was good, I had some money, and then right before I'm about to leave, my mom tells the cops I have a grenade and I'm trying to kill her, and I look in the window to see why is she screaming in her apartment by herself, and I look in and she's smiling. She's really happy holding a kitchen knife and just lying to the cops. And then I was attacked, I was maced, dragged on the carpet. They lied to the news about what happened. They said I was violent and out of control, and I wasn't. And then they didn't wash my eyes when they put me in the cell. It was smaller than this camper bedroom. There was no bedding on the bed, and there was no running water, and they didn't wash the mace out of my eyes. So I sat there for days, and then cop made me get on my knees, and then he pressed his crotch against the side of my head while I was just knelt on the ground, travel cuffed, waiting to go to the court, and he thought it was really funny. Then they bring me in the courtroom, and I hadn't slept. There was still mace in my eyes. The judge laughs about how I look. They all make fun of me. I feel like I now would call a Masonic ritual and spell work that destroyed my infinite potential and my energy I worked really hard for, and they had done something that in some contract that kept me from being myself now. And then when that happened and it felt like they had taken all my energy, they all started like the judge was like cackling, and he looked the way that Heather described, that brightness. And then I just couldn't make it come back. And eventually I did, and I have the video. I have a video where I recorded the WebEx, and you can see that I pulled the energy back through the phone. I literally pulled it back from him. I learned how to do it after years of fighting it off. I got it back from him, and you can see as soon as I do it, he goes like from really happy, like this, and he starts just fucking yelling at my public defender, like barking at her. And all I'm doing is just I learned how to supersede your fucking spell work in the woods, bitch. I sat out here for months. I had to fight people to the death. You can't do shit. I took it back. And then the next time, he quit. That was the last time he was on my case. He quit after that because his Masonic spell work didn't work anymore. So something like, and he fucking quit. Jonathan Predwell. His name's Treadwell, but he goes really hard on people, just throws the book at him for nothing, and then he lets pedophiles go. Just lets them go with a smile. So I'm like, I call him John Predwell. John treats Preds well, but not Casey. When I went to court, I said, I used to stand up in this. The last time I went to court, it took a long time to get the judge to let me speak. My public defender wasn't worth shit in Brattleboro. Rory Malone is a terrible lawyer. He's a terrible public defender. I don't know what Kirk was talking about. That dude sucked. That dude sucked. He didn't answer his text messages. He messed up the paperwork. He made me sign a plea deal, and he lied about what the plea deal was to just get me to sign it. All I was telling them, and it's pretty simple. All I was trying to get my public defender to say is just a little bit about what I've been through homeless, and then all these character references to the great things that I've done for people while I was homeless, and that I tried my best, and that it was literally almost impossible to get through. And I still got through it, and I got through it in a way that helped other people. And all they were doing was making it worse for crimes like answering your mom's text messages, taking your piece of cardboard that you let your neighbor have on his door off his door. Those are my charges. When I got evicted from my apartment because he was filing false police reports, because it violates your lease if they show up. So he had to lure my little brother into his apartment saying he was a psychic, just like my other neighbor had done. They're good friends. So my other neighbor on the top, Henry, told me he was a psychic. He said he lived with on the and he traveled around Europe and learned Druidism and shamanism, and that he could feel the power that I was and what I was going through spiritually. He could see the suffering from up there, and he said that he had a lot of stuff to help me with that. So I went up, and then I feel like high suddenly, and then I can see that he was like his spirit was like digging into mine, and he was trying to like get me to connect to him, and I was like, I like women. Like in my mind, I was like, I'm not gay. And then he starts crying and go, you just missed out on the best blowjob of your life. And he's just standing in the kitchen like he's possessed. And I felt him spiritually trying to spiritually get into me. And I casually, no. Spiritually, no. And then he goes, you just missed out. And he just starts bawling. So then I just get up and I walk out. And I emailed the property manager and said, he tried to drug and molest me. I thought I was high. Now I know it was spiritual. I thought he drugged me. I thought he drugged the food. So then my other neighbor tried to do the same thing to I call him my little brother. He tried to do it to John Michael. And when it didn't work, police started showing up twice a week for random reasons. They tried to say that I was beating my girlfriend. They tried to say that my music was way too loud, even though I listened with headphones. They tried to say that I was running drugs. They just showed up twice a week after I got my Dodge Magnum. And I started wearing Timberland boots and smoking J's and hanging out with black girls. And I was like, I wish that I wish that they saw me wandering around with the brain injury. And then they saw me really put together. I thought people would have been proud of me, but they weren't. They thought I was running heroin. So when I finally got evicted, I gave him that when I moved in. I just took it back, and I got a petty larceny charge for that. And before that any of that even happened, because I didn't think that was a crime, because it was mine. Before any of that happened, I already apologized to him and said, "Hey, I'm sorry we had like a falling out, but it makes me paranoid. Um, I feel like I take on other people's personalities really easily, And when you were doing things like calling the police and shit and all this drama, it was hard for me to have a, you know, without being able, I couldn't say it well, but he got the message and he went, "It's all good, peace," and then closed the door. So I was like, I'm glad I worked it out with that pedophile creep. What I was trying to say is I feel responsible as a man for not handling that situation better. Um, Even though I do think you could have, instead of just like screaming your schizophrenic shit at me, saying turn your music down and there's no music playing. Um, Knowing that he's talking about spiritually, but like I was making songs, but I'm an audio engineer, and I had John Michael sit in the other room, and we sound for everything. We could belt anything, and just 5 feet away, in when the door closes, you can't hear it. Much less you can't hear it in the hallway. Um, Feels like my music is loud. I wouldn't do it. That's how I know he was bullshitting. And it was something else going on where he was trying to dominate me, and it was spiritual and the music was actually my energy. What was the point? Bunch of loud noises now. Oh, and then the only other crime is that my mom lied to the cops, and then she filed an RFA, and then she never followed it. She messaged me pretty much every day, and then whenever she felt like it, she would show the cops our texts, and then I would get felonies. So now I'm like a 3 count felon. So I haven't been able to get a job. So I just wanted Rory to go in and say that. Is that like, this is a bunch of bullshit. All the good case he's done. And I just wanted him to say, hasn't he suffered enough? Just let charges go. But he wouldn't. And then we agreed that the value of that piece of cardboard was less than 50 cents. But now they're demanding $50 from me. And I'm trying to call Rory and be like, you said 50 cents. Why are they charging me $50? I think you put the wrong dollar sign instead of the cent sign, and he won't answer me. And I'm not giving that pedophile creep $50. I also can't pay him. I don't have enough to spare like that. The only reason I bought a gym membership is because I can't have a rash when I'm working, or else I can't work. Other than that, I bought underwear because I haven't had underwear in a long time, and I bought a 12 pack of socks, and that's it. I haven't even bought toothpaste yet. 4 years of police brutalities for that. So I think it is demons. I think the devil is like a roaming lion looking to devour at any point it can. I think that it's just any chance that the devil gets to interject into this realm, it will. So I think it's constantly hijacking people, and I think that they come at me, and they don't come at me as much because I'm kind of beaten and broken at this point. Or I'm stronger, but I have less potential than when I was was 19. I really miss being 19, and it's not my fault that when I was 19, I tried to work at 3 different jobs, but I just couldn't function after the car accident. When I went to work at the every job I went to, all the girls in there, my coworkers were like 17 to 20, and they would all fight over me. Everybody was flirting with me, and I think they mistook my quietness for just being that aloof, mysterious character, when really on the inside, I'm 110% of my energy is going towards not just falling over, freaking out, and like really trying to will my arms to move to put the mac and cheese into the cup. I think they just thought that I was chill like that and quiet. So everybody wanted to hang out with me after work. Everybody was like giggling and talking about how good I looked. Um, they would like, you know, because I was quiet. I don't think they thought I was unaware that they were doing like the drop the pencil thing so that they could bend over in front of you. And I was like, couldn't function. I was like I was like freaking out because I could see spiritually all of the angelic presences hovering over everybody and guiding their decisions, and I could see literally what was going to happen next because I would see the impulse being pumped through into their mind, and most people just operate on impulse anyway, so I would be able to see what they were being driven. Everybody was being driven around, and I could see who they really were inside of that. I could see their true selves and how they would cut themselves off from themselves. So they were like corpses, like just dormant souls inside of a vessel piloted by extra dimensional intelligence, and everyone was like that, and I seemed to be the only person that wasn't like that, except for people that still had their innocence, um, or that smoked weed and stuff. So it was just a different connection, and I didn't know how to function like that, and eventually on Halloween I quit. I said I can't do it. I'm sorry. And my manager got really mad, and she took her chef's hat off and chucked it because she wanted to spend her Halloween with her family. And I just went home, and I think I laid in bed for a month straight. And I would wake up and I would just lay there because I could feel everybody in their house. I was like a massive root system in the whole community, and I could just see everything at once. But then I started to see like demonic entities were becoming aware of me. So then I would run to my window and look out, and then there's a random man walking up the street. His back is turned to me, but then he holds up the devil horns. He's walking this way, and I'm like over here looking back at him, and he keeps walking. But all the time, beautiful girls would just knock on my door because I was like the cute neighbor, and I didn't realize they were like that really. It was more like echoes. Like if I like pick up this vape and I throw it over here, like the action that they take and the assertion of that action is what I felt. I could feel like the push and pull of the ego system, I guess. So like spiritually, with like power games and stuff. But what it's called in astrology is literally called the eighth house. I was experiencing the eighth house. As a Sagittarius, the connection between the heavens and the earth, man and nature, the underworld and earth, through the eighth house is the underworld. So it wasn't like I could see, like, I don't think the girl that lived up the road, I couldn't see it. Now I probably could, but back then it wasn't really like I could see her crying, but I could see that there was like an intent that like a tree root was growing towards my apartment. So I knew that somebody wanted to come see me. And then as it got stronger and stronger, eventually there would be like a decision. I'd be like, okay, and then they'd buzz my doorbell. It'd be like that. It wasn't like I can see them crying in their room or anything. Now I think I could, especially like 2022. I really could. It would be like I was brought into the room and I was shown like people talking about me, and then they would message me later and stuff like that. But back then I would follow the roots around, and then I would follow the inspiration, I guess, and I'd like wind up just kind of I would just walk around at night by myself at like 3 a.m. and eventually I'd feel called to like go by a house, so I would just stand on the sidewalk, and I would just kind of stop and listen to like what's going on, and then all of a sudden I would hear like this like 19-year-old girl screaming at her mom, crying and saying that she's fat and that everyone hates her, and her mom's like trying to console her. Then I would just be like, I would just stand there, and then the angels would say stuff. They would just explain to me what the situation was, and that there was, and I'd be like, "Is there anything I can do to help?" And then it was just kind of just like be lead by example, and try to have fun outside. And when you go on walks, maybe go around that neighborhood again, and maybe you'll see her outside, and just say hi, and see what happens. And then maybe eventually that did happen. I didn't meet her there, but I met her at like a youth program for youth in DCF. And then we all started hanging out in my apartment. So she did eventually find her way to my apartment. Out of like the thousand houses in that town, the one place where I felt led to go, and then I heard her freaking out, crying. Like a week later, she wound up in my apartment, trying to sleep with me while we watched Ex Machina. And I didn't do it, even though she was pretty hot. At that point, she was kind of fat. I'm not. She's the way she would have been like a 10 out of 10 for sure. But I think COVID made everybody crazy, and she was struggling. And I just couldn't let that girl go that was probably cheating on me all the time. She was like my best friend, and it was like Stockholm syndrome because she was the only person that would come around, and she would help me. So I didn't want to jeopardize that, even though she was cheating on me. If I could go back, I would have slept with how many girls were in the deli? One, two, three. I would have dated them at least. Like actually gone and hung out with them when they wanted to hang out. Four, five, and then different job was two, plus the twins that lived up the road. Um, that would come invite me up to hang out with them. 10. There were 10 really, really unique, cool, very attractive, much better for me, healthy girls that liked me when I was 19. And I just couldn't function. Where I was like, oh, there was also one, two, three, 15 to 16 different people that, no, yeah, like, yeah, including her. And yeah, because I went to a concert and the director's daughter, whose name is Ray. um, liked me too. I wanted to make music with that Ray. Casey and Ray could have happened in 2020, but I went for Bella instead. And then Bella went to college for psychology. And then she called me while she was at a party and told me that she doesn't like parties and that she likes to go, even though she's in college, she likes to go sit by the lake by herself. And I was only an hour away, but I didn't have a car. So I would take a shower and get ready like I was going on a date, and then I would set up the FaceTime from my room because I was scared to leave my apartment because my brain didn't work right. And then a college dude that was buff sat down on the bed with her, and she was like, "Do you care if he's here?" And the guy went, "I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care if he says I can't be here." And she laughed a little bit. So then I was like, I will not talk to her anymore. And then she called me when I was in West Virginia and she wanted to meet up again. And I just decided not to. She told me she thought about being my dog with me because it's fair. Like she really liked me, but also look at him, he's just sitting in Section 8, he's functioning. He's really cool, he's really smart, he's really funny, but he's got some problems. And now I'm 26, and girls do not react to me the way that they used to, where they're just anything I say, they're very interested and they always keep the conversation going, and I don't have to talk much, and they want to hang out and they think that I'm cool. Now, when I walk into the Dollar General and there's a pretty girl at the register, I'm just like a part of the furniture. I'm just, I'm just not even in their mind. I'm no longer even there for them. I'm just like another person walking in. And if I try to talk to them, it's like, oh, okay. There's never like obvious attraction anymore, and that really sucks. That I guess I'm ugly now, man. I'm mid. I'm a mid unk, man. I'm a mid unk now. Sucks. I had a hot therapist that wanted me at one point when I was 17, where I would just tell her stories about my day, and she'd go, "Yeah, yeah," and then she would just stare full eye contact at me, going, "Yeah," and I was like, "Is she nuts? Is that her way of saying like if you make a move, I'll respond, but I can't do anything but this?" Yeah. So then I sat on the couch after my session was over, because I was in DCF, so you have to see a therapist. When the girl went in to talk to her and they were talking, she was not making those noises. She was not dead staring, going, "Yeah, yeah." I wish I fucked my therapist, man. She was hot. She was really hot. Youth is wasted on the young, man. That really happened too. It was like my whole life I was forced into boxes. I sound but when I say that people don't really measure the scope of what it was like. I don't know how all these people have such a diverse experience and that like people it seems like I've never witnessed it, but it seems like everybody's talking to each other. Everybody's hanging out. But when I go around public, I never see anybody talking to each other at all. Yet somehow these everybody's very well cultured and put together, and I don't know where that's happening. And I was never shown any of those things because I lived alone in the mountains by myself. I got a very very sparse events in my life with other people. I mainly just laid in the river by myself. I would walk around by myself. I would build Legos by myself. I would roll it. I would just to show you. Have you seen the video of the bear that they let out of captivity? And because the bear, its whole life was just pacing in circles in its cage, when they let it out into the forest, it just walked in circles. So there was a literal like path, uh, just from the bear just walking in circles in the middle of the forest. That's a lot of my life. But then I was intense, so or laying in the back of the car, curled up, holding a knife. And then when it would get too cold, I'd put a hoodie over, and then I would suffocate myself to sleep, wake up to police brutalities. So now it's not even walking in circles. It's like if you let me out when I go outside, I don't walk in circles anymore. I just lay down on the ground. But in all that, I did get up and I would fight relentlessly for months at a time. Like when I got out of the institution where it was like smaller than this camper bedroom, and I was locked in there for most of the day for most of the year, and it was a pretty bad psychological abuse. And they could behavior reform, but it wasn't because they weren't doing that. They were abusing it to take it out on me specifically. Like they were not like that to the other kids at all. They were just unusually bad to me. And when I got out, I would just wake up every morning. I'd go work out at the park. I'd come back and do push-ups. I would do my fitness pal. I'd get all my macros for the day, and then I would go out and I would systematically approach strangers and start conversations with the understanding that I'm going to try to build rapport, establish touch, so that we're comfortable, and then share vulnerability so that it's open and you have some type of connection. And then once you figure out if you like them, it's not trying to show them you, it's trying to see if they're good while you're enjoying your own life. If they mix well and they're a part of it. So if they, qualify themselves, they want to be a part of your life, and then you show them that you're going to have fun in the future. So then if they want to be a part of that fun in the future, then you set up the date. So I would go do that, and then a lot of people my age were like, "That's fucking weird," but a lot of people that were older, like 2 years older than me, really liked that. And then I started going on dates when I was 16, and my first girlfriend was 19, and she was, I think, the most attractive girl. It's subjective because everybody's different, but for me, I think, especially at the time, I think she was probably the most attractive person in the world that I've seen. Like,
like autistic clavicular level, analyzing face and body structure. I do think that at that point she was. I have not seen anybody that I would consider better. It's just different. Like I would say that my last ex-girlfriend was also that type of high quality, and I think every girl I've ever dated officially um, is like that. But now that they are older and they have kids and they have like, they've grown up and they're not like, young adults, I would say that that's not the case anymore. But then when I look at people that are the age, like young adults, when I was, they not, most of them look like inbred, weird creatures to me. Like 19 and 20-year olds now don't look like 19 and 20-year olds. They're like I think they're like metal snake. They're like, what's after metal? They're like, I think those people would be in Bozzy dogs, monkeys, and pigs and roosters. The dogs, monkeys, pigs, and roosters generation look like inbred robot homunculuses to me. And then the earth cats and the earth metal dragons and snakes, way better looking. It's like people stopped being put together and they started devolving after 2001. Let's say after 2003. 2004 and onward, everybody started to look kind of the same, in my opinion. I don't know. There was like a period of 5 years where everyone that I saw from those birthdays looked like robots to me. Like something happened to that generation. Probably because they were in high school when Lean came out in Juice World and they glorified drugs, so they probably just messed themselves up. Like in their formative years where they're supposed to be growing, they did a whole bunch of like bad shit that messed them up. The new generation is intelligent. They're like a whole different species. The iPad kid generations is crazy. People that grew up chronically online. The way that they see social hierarchies and stuff, they have a much more emotional, expanded view of that because of the chaos of information that they process. How they learn to maneuver through that chaos developed into like a piercing focus and discipline inside that chaos. And I think the overwhelming information caused them to just tune it all out and then nothing is going on. And I think that they kind of put themselves in their own box. The people who, I guess that makes, how I see that makes sense because of years were in COVID. It makes sense I see them that way because it's probably how that what happened is that they did it over Zoom. They learned kind of how to be everything through go instead of being in school, and they were going to online classes and then they were running around together like the 70s, like Stranger Things. They were like going on Stranger Things adventures and then spending a lot of time just stuck in their room by themselves instead of like going to big institutions with like big groups of people. That makes sense why that generation seems more tribal but more complex with information. Was this good content? I'm rambling. I don't want to go to sleep because I'm sore. And I know if I sleep, the faster I go to sleep, the faster I have to go back to work tomorrow. Nobody IRL wants to hear this. I tried to tell my boss that every single year at the end of cancer season, I am hired by a Leo whose birthday adds up to 4 and has 4 letters in their name. And his son was listening, and he had his cross necklace on because we talked about Jesus yesterday, and I talked about God, and we talked about Jesus and everything. So he decided to wear. I think his son is 14. Decided he's a sophomore. Decided to wear his Christian necklace in front of his son. I told him every year at the end of cancer season, I have a boss that pays me for a job, and he's a Leo that adds up to 4 on his birthday, and he has a 4 letter name. This year it was Ryan, last year it was Eric, the year before it was Phil, the year before it was Owen, the year before it was Jack, the year before it was John, and then the year before that I went to a job site with my dad, and my dad's name is 4 letters, and he's a Leo. So I'm sure if I went back further, I'd find more evidence, but I just can't really remember that well before that. I do know that in my first relationship with my first girlfriend, her best friend was dating a guy named Ray. I remember that, and then we would all hang out together. So I do remember that back in 2016, I was hanging out with Ray because our girlfriends were best friends. Isn't that crazy? All right, I'm gonna go to bed. I went for 2.5. I got there at 7. I left at 3:30 today. I drove to the gym. I had to help the gym owner fix a problem with her door because the gym door wasn't closing all the way. And then I drove all the way back, and then I recorded I think a couple hours live, and then I hauled one wheelbarrow full of wood over. So I'm gonna see. He didn't text me, so I'm gonna be working alone tomorrow. And I'm gonna go. He said to only go for 8 hours, so I'll be doing 7 to 3. But if 3 o'clock comes around and I'm not done, I'm just gonna do the rest, and I'm not gonna tell him because he's always stressing about money, even though he makes a ridiculous amount of money. I think he's got a $5,000 dog, but he does drive kind of a shit box he got for $200 that he fixed up. I don't know, man. But it's a good thing he's doing. He's paying me $20 an hour. I don't think he has to pay me $20 an hour, but I don't think anybody else would do that job for less than $20 an hour. He's gonna try to push me down to 15, and then I'm gonna have to tell him, "Do you think you could hire somebody else for 15?" And if he says yeah, then I said, then I think you should. And I'm gonna go work to take what I have here, and I will go back and finish work on the Glorious Cross. If he tries to push me down to 15 an hour, I'm gonna just say no. It's not worth it for me. Even though it is worth it for me, I'd rather sleep for 2 weeks. I worked 4 days and I made $800.
because I've been working. So I'm already at 40 hours this week. If he keeps me at $20 an hour, he only needs me until the sanding is done. He might pay me to paint, but he might not. I'm fine with getting paid 20 an hour to sand, and then if he wants to bump me down to 15, I won't tell him this, but if he wants to bump me down to 15 to paint, that's a lot easier work than the sander. So I might be fine with 15 if he really is stressing about money. But I think he's kind of leading me on about that. I think he's kind of stressed because he's spending too much money at the Airbnb that he's not making as much as he needs. But he's choosing to stay at that Airbnb. So he's thinking of moving to the state park. And I told him just, I'll clean the cabin tent and I'll go take some of this wood and I'll build a room in that cool area down by the apple orchard and I'll stay there as long as he because we have to wake up at 6 o'clock every day anyway. I said I said we get back at sundown and we're up at sunrise. So they're not gonna know that you're here. And even if they did, I'll just tell them you're a Christian with 5 kids and the only person that's hired me.
He's saving my life, and he's a good person that I trust. He's not going to do anything bad. He's sober. He's clean. He doesn't do anything, and he's going to help. I'm sure if he sticks around, he'll help me sawzall this camper wall, put framing in, put the door in, put the siding on, whatever you got to do to make it connected to the camper, and then we can build a porch, a deck on this side and on this side. Or he has a truck. We can just move all this shit and we can go build like far out into the field there in the back by the apple orchard. The only problem there is that there's a hunter that does there's like a property dispute where the lines overlap on parcel viewer and the two parcels overlap, so the neighbor hunts deer. Those were the gunshots that I heard this winter. Um, he comes up and kills a lot of the deer. I'm not sure he's allowed to do. He kills a lot of deer out here. So if I move down there, there's a good chance I'll get shot. If I don't if I try to stay here through the winter. I mean, if I with $800 in my pocket, that's enough to go to Hawaii and be homeless. So as long as I hold on, I have 700. As long as I hold on, minus I bought a pizza. I ran out of food stamps, so I bought a pizza from Cumbies for $8, and then I bought a 2 barbecue rib sandwiches for tomorrow to eat. I'm starting to sound. I don't like this tone in my voice, but it's when you give up on everything you start to sound like this. Like when I close my eyes, I see chains trying to attach to my arms. I was wondering why I sound like this. I was like, what happened to the energy? Why do I sound like a wimpy bitch? And then I saw that I was bound in chains.
and I feel like like something's playing a string that's connected to the back of my neck, and then I jolted, and my body was like, "Go hit the vape." So I think that addiction is probably demonic. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna hit the vape, but just know I also see it as pathetic, in that every day I go to work, I make a conscious decision to hit the vape less. So when I first got there, I was puffing it all the time. Then over time, as I work more, I'm taking longer breaks between the vapes. Like now, I hit when at work it was like every 10 minutes. I would be panicking and hitting the vape. Now it's like once an hour, I take one small hit and then I go right back. So for me, that's progress. And I'm giving my boss my other vape because I feel bad that he panics about not being able to pay for whatever he needs. Even though he makes a ridiculous amount of money, he's always stressed about money. And today, he said that I had to buy my own lunch, and I said I just won't eat. And he bought me lunch anyway. And I could see that he felt really bad about me being hungry, that he actually cared. So I'm gonna give him this vape because the vape will cost as much as the lunch that he paid for the past 4 days, 3 days, because he did take 20 out the first day. I'm gonna repay him with vapes, with this vape, because the exact flavor vape that I got that I don't like is his favorite flavor. So I'm gonna give my boss that. He's also, I think, a 4 years in a row boxing champion in my state. He did MMA and wrestling for like 20, or yeah, no, he would have been, he's 33, so he would, yeah, 20 years. 20 years of wrestling and boxing and MMA. He's a mechanic and a carpenter. He's now a devout Christian, but he was an addict for a long time. Um, he said he lost everything to it, and he lost his family, and he's came back from it, and now he just this is his first gig, so it's pretty cool. He has three baby mamas. I don't know. He invited me to he has he's racing in a derby, like a demolition derby. He's building a car for it right now. He went home today at 3, and from today till Sunday morning, he's building this race car. And he invited me to go with his family, so that might be cool, but I don't know how to be a normal person anymore. I know how to do this because I've been doing this for years now, but this does not translate to social interaction well when there's another person in front of me and they don't want to hear me rant for 2.5 hours straight about barely anything. But I need to sleep. It's 11, so I'm only going to sleep 7 hours. Night. Show your nipples.